Welcome, my name's Kristen Hancock. I'm from Fontaine Swatch Branding and Design Studio, and welcome to our second podcast. If I could throw over to my right, Chris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Christopher Melotti. I am the director and head copywriter of Melotti Media Copywriting and Message Marketing Bureau, and I help brands find power through words.
Hi, I'm Ariel Bowers from Two Giraffes. We are a full-service video production and animation studio. We help you with TV commercials, animated explainers, or multi-platform campaigns.
I'm Mike Sandys from Oddball Marketing, and we're a full-service marketing agency focused very much on delivering actionable results.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for joining us in our second podcast. And today we're talking about what is trending in marketing right now and what you need to know. So, Chris,
yes,
if I can pass over to you.
All right. Well, I did a recent strategy session with my team, and we were looking at what's coming up next for marketing. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of big things happening, and there's a lot of small things happening. And so what I find is that the best way to approach it is to, because you can get overwhelmed, right? Mm-hmm. As we all would know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what I find the best thing is to make sure that you've got a healthy blend of everything. Mm-hmm. And I'll get to what I was doing, but the reality is that what can happen is you get marketers that are too forward thinking and they get completely overwhelmed and they forget the now. And then you get some that are stuck in the past. They can't embrace the future. And so you want to have a nice blend, I find, of all of them. So my team were looking at, of course, the one on everyone's minds right now is AI and automation. And so using that, especially in a lot of like advertising and AI and that sort of area, it's becoming very, very prominent right now, and using automation and bots and all this kind of stuff is one. Another one that I feel people are underestimating right now is interactive content. I find that this is a really powerful way to get people to actually choose their own adventure through your content. Mm-hmm. And, the example I give my clients is, that those SpongeBob questionnaires on Facebook where they go, like, find who you are, in the SpongeBob. And you
I see another one.
Right. And the funny thing is that those playful executions, people overlook them because you get your who are you, your hero, and you go, hey, funny, and then you move on. Whereas with interactive content, I've done a lot with this with clients, and it's like, the research is showing and our experience is showing that people are actually willing to give 22 answers before they pull out. So that's a lot
that is a lot.
It's a lot of information,
of response, isn't it?
And so people are actually willing to go onto your website and actually find their own solution, so long as they're prompted. So there's many more, but I think those two are the ones that I'm looking at addressing and getting more on board with at the moment.
What do you think's driving that, though?
With AI or interactive?
Both.
I think people like to have their own power to make their own decisions, because right now marketing practice is, here's what we're doing, right? And there's still, even though consumers and customers have a lot of power, I feel like they're in their space where they go to a channel and here's the content delivered. Mm-hmm. Whereas this interactive space and the AI space is starting to deliver a personalization that is onto another level. And so people now can go in and say, this is my answer. Show me something that I am interested in. Mm-hmm. And even though we have seen that in marketing over the last few years, I feel like it's getting to this level. Like an example I did recently with a client was with a health client, and it was asking about sleep health. And so what it did was we designed this questionnaire that people could answer, and it would take them through a journey. And in the end, it would tell them the best response. And so for the brand, it was really good, because what would happen is the brand would be able to deliver personalized content depending on how their sleeping patterns were. So rather than saying, hey, here's a generic piece of content, it's like, from your answers, we've determined that you're a really good sleeper. Here's our blog. Whereas someone that was a poor sleeper, it'd be like, here's some more information about our products. Or for a really bad sleeper, it would be like, speak to our sleep clinics. Yeah. Okay. And so what was happening is, instead of having this website that they had to find their way through, it was like, here's the questionnaire. And it was all done really nicely, and they could click through. So to answer your question, Mike, is I feel like people are that time poor factor, and they want personalization, and they like to be involved in their personalization. And I feel that that's where marketing is getting a lot of traction. Is that's your question?
Okay, yeah. It's kind of we're seeing some interesting things there around. In terms of the core at how we approach our marketing for clients, is very much looking at problem solution.
Yeah.
In every activity that we do, we think about problem solution, because ultimately when we come to buying a product or a service, what are we trying to do? Trying to solve some sort of problem, need, want.
Yeah.
And so we need to understand what that is first in terms of the way we then communicate. And what you're talking about there is exactly that. When you go through that questionnaire and you sort of answer different questions, they're actually going through that diagnosis.
Yeah.
Sort of
they're
process.
empowered to diagnose themselves.
Yeah.
Well, this is happening in video as well, because there's the Shoppable Instagram videos. I don't know if you guys have had a squiz with this.
No, tell me
not
more.
yet.
Well, essentially, there's an actual video,
Yeah.
and on it you can click and purchase the product straight from the video. So
Wow,
you can have a ad where they're putting on the lipstick, and you can click on the video, and it can actually add it straight to your cart or take you to that product. Wow. So it's a way to make a lot more interactive, personalized content by having these shoppable videos.
The potential in that is huge.
Yeah.
Huge potential there. So that's
Even for services, I feel.
So that's on Instagram at the moment.
But what I like to look, one of the things I liked about what you were talking about there before, Chris and Ariel, and then Mike, there's trends going on in the market that are accessible to different levels as well.
Yes.
So where you're talking about, Chris, personalization and a lot of AI, Ariel, you're talking about in videos where you're actually clicking to straight to bag. Now, some of those are quite big investments, and you're talking about larger corporate investing in that, taking the time to really drive a campaign. But Mike, you're getting right back to the nitty gritty of what it is that somebody's actually trying to achieve in their campaign, and really personalisation can be just a either or question. How did they respond to this social media post that we put out versus this social media post that we put out? So it's A and B testing. And the response to that changes the way that we do the follow-up. So what I like about those trends is that they're accessible to different level corporates, and yet they can achieve the same end game, which is to get more sales eventually. One of the other things that we're seeing, which I'll talk about the branding side in a minute, but one of the other things that we're seeing around outdoor advertising is that we all know that our phones are constantly active and they're constantly talking, but we're moving to the stages now with outdoor advertising where your profile being attached to your phone as you walk past a billboard, that billboard being digital can automatically know that you've just been on the Melotti Media, and the Melotti Media advert about message marketing will pop onto
It's
that.
just what they need, more of that orange.
More of that
everywhere.
And that, to me, it doesn't get much more personalised than that. Then you're walking down the middle of George Street, and then as you walk down, you can also nurture the customer.
Wow.
So,
oh my gosh, I'll be in so much trouble. Feel that brand of yours we see everywhere.
yeah. So they're getting to the point now where they can pick up that, okay, we're now at billboard 1, and as they move closer to billboard 2, it can either be the same or a next nurture message. Or as you say, you
Big
think
Brother
about
here.
where this can go.
Oh, of course.
It feels like Big Brother. And I think in one sense, you'll see a lot of people actually start to switch that privacy button. And as they start to realise that, hang on, this isn't just the advert. And, all those people that are looking at things on the internet they shouldn't be are really going to switch the privacy button.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think the audience appreciates that personalization, because no one wants to be, you're scrolling through Facebook and I don't want to see an ad for a men's shaving cream.
True.
That doesn't pertain to me. And then all of a sudden it feels like an ad.
Yeah.
But if, I don't know, a cute bag that I was looking at the week before pops up because of retargeting or because of something I've looked at, and it's something interesting I haven't seen before, then I actually find it as, okay, this is now add value to me because I've just found out about this product.
What if it had your name on the ad?
I mean, that would freak me out a little bit.
No, but it's
There's a
moving there.
line.
It is moving there, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
See, I like to focus on, as a marketer, I like to focus on the ones that make sure you're delivering value. And like, so I just, as you know, we've all said, there's a lot of advancements going on, and it's where do you want to play as a brand? Because everything you do as that initiative can affect your, if you're found stalking, if my brand's stalking everywhere in Sydney, which it isn't, I just feel like that might do more damage. And so I think as a as a business professional marketing people, we need to also make that decision of what advancements do we want to take that actually do continue to address our customers in the way that they want to be addressed. And that's really important. It's not just go, oh, it's new, let's do it.
And in that, it's also stepping out of your safety zone a bit, because where a lot of the more Generation Z is going is the vertical video. And a lot of people are scared to work in that vertical space. But it's seeing that the younger generation are actually watching the video ads from start to finish. It's like a 90% completion rate, which you're not getting on horizontal video.
Yeah, vertical video is quite new. So can you just talk us through what vertical video is? Because it's actually quite a new terminology that's coming in.
Yeah. So think about it. Most of you, I think it's over 80% of us hold our phone vertically, right? Where's my phone?
So in portrait mode versus landscape.
Yeah, it's portrait mode. And you're holding your phone vertically. And when you're watching a video, most people now, they want to see the video in the way that they're holding it.
Yeah.
And people aren't rotating to watch the video. So when it's horizontal, it's a small little video.
Yeah.
So when it's a vertical video, it's actually, you're getting to play with your whole screen. And a lot of the new platforms like TikTok and Instagram stories, they are based in that vertical manner.
But it's taking up the whole screen.
The whole screen.
Rather than the landscape on a portrait where you've got black above and below.
Exactly.
You've now got
responsive to the screen size. Oh, that's great.
And responsive to the platform. Because you don't want to be sticking these horizontal and having just blurred imagery on both sides. You want to actually play into that platform. So if that's an audience you want to go after, you need to speak in their language, and their language is vertical video. And it's that 15-second vertical video. They want short. They want you to really put in that
Sound
message
bites.
and really hone in on your identity and your brand story in that 15 seconds within the manner that they want to view it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that 15 seconds, there's a lot of information to convey.
Yeah, 15 seconds is long.
And it comes back to something that we talked about in our last podcast around making sure that you invest in your digital media and really plan it. Because if you're going to put 15 seconds out there, people want so much out of that 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, next time they'll just swipe past it.
I'll tell you a big mistake that's been happening a lot of times is clients only focus on the longer version video. And then they just throw away, think about the 15-second and
Just
the 6-second one. They're like, just cut together a 15-second. And that should not be how it's going about.
I actually agree
that
with
should be very well pre-planned, because your 15-second and your 6-second can go right into YouTube ads. It can be in-stream and OTT.
Yeah.
And those are ones that the first 5 seconds you can't skip most of the time. So making sure that content is really played into that duration will mean that you're actually reaching your audience within that video.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes back to the planning, doesn't it? The pre-planning. So look, if I can just take the conversation back a little bit from some of the things that we're seeing from a branding perspective, definitely, our focus at Font and Swatch is way that brands are perceived through their colours and their fonts. We have seen a lot over the last 12 months, a lot of neon colours coming through. If you're using a lot of neon colours to refresh your brand at the moment, we would suggest that you're probably past that stage now. It's been overused, and there's so much on social media that we think that actually you're losing clients' attention now. Because the neons were really used to grab attention, and they were very iridescent. But now it's moved beyond that. There is a similar palette, but it's not neon, that's come out as pastels, which were a lot cooler, warmer, calming. And I think that was a sign of what the whole world was experiencing.
Actually, that's
Going
very
through.
true.
When you said that, I was like, we need to be coddled right
Everybody
now.
needed this, we had
warm hug in colours.
everything that was going on globally, and then particularly with like for Australia around bushfires and then straight into COVID. I think people wanted that sense of calm, that they were a bit in a float tank, and it's just I'm looking at social media, but I really don't want to be that stimulated by it. But now what's really exciting is the colour palette that's coming forward. Okay, so what we're seeing in the future predictions, we've seen Pantone come out with their colour of the year, which is classic blue. which some people might say
It's conservative.
well, it is, but what it is, it's bold, it's trustworthy, and it's confident. Okay, and the associated color palettes are quite similar. Like you've got your flame red, it's flame scarlet, and you've also got a saffron in there, and all of these colors are actually quite confident. But then there's some complementary ones that are exciting. So we're seeing that colors that are going to go forward, a bit like the saffron, they've got that little hint of excitement because people now want to be confident because they've just been kept indoors for nearly 6 months, and they're feeling a little bit depressed. So they want to know that they're with brands that know where they're going. They boldly know where they're going, but there's also an element of excitement in there, and that's why we're seeing things like the saffron come through. And so we can definitely see that those colours are going to come forward we think in the next 6 to 12 months. And if you're looking to use them within your brand, we're not suggesting that you go out and refresh your entire colour palette. You can actually adopt a lot of these just as base colours or emphasis colours that really pop or give confidence. Okay. And then within fonts, look, there's some fonts that we're seeing come through now. There's a few recently developed fonts. There's one that is starting to make quite an impact, and that's Helvetica New. Which is
really
quite scary because Helvetica, everybody says Helvetica is probably the most overused font, particularly in the digital space. But there's good reason for that. It's a very good font, and it's a lovely open font, and it's easy to read, particularly in digital. But they have, after 35 years, they've actually done an update of it, and we're seeing it come through a lot now, and it is a beautiful font, and we think that it's going to get even more overused. So expect to see that.
2020 is Helvetica's year.
Yeah, again.
No, you don't want that association.
One that we think will come through a lot more is News Sans, which is a recently developed font. But one of its big advantages over Helvetica New, it's a Google font. So Google's included it. And it is so versatile. There's about 90 different design styles. So whether you want emphasis, you want pop, you want conservative media, it's covering all of them. So that is a really good font and easily accessible, free on Google.
That means we'll see a lot of that then
You'll
online.
see a lot on it.
I know with all the sites that we work with, absolutely must be, Google Fonts is the default where we turn to.
Agree.
And they've upgraded so much. There's so many more available now on Google Fonts. And the big thing about News Sans is it's not Helvetica.
Subtle. Another trend I'm noticing in marketing going forward is people like brands are starting to release tools, and I mean digital tools. So what I mean by that is I'm seeing, for example, there was an agency in America who what they did was they were doing similar to what I do with content writing and copywriting. And what they did was they got an algorithm together and put it where it helps you find the Google SEO keywords, and it's free. And so what they did was they completely shook up that market, and they used, even though they don't play in the tool space, they made it as a marketing initiative so they could collect leads from it. Now that you might be like, oh, that's not that amazing, but it actually is, because what they did is they changed their model completely from using like advertising to attract clients and things like that to actually saying, here's an actually functioning like tool that you can use.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is an underestimated space that marketing can play in, where it's like, okay, what do we do? How can we develop a tool that's just outside of our sphere that will tap into a few more leads that will bring people in? And that's what's happening.
I think it's even a little bit more general than that, because one of the big trends we're seeing in video is more educational based video. People don't want you just to advertise to them all the time. They want to actually learn and be educated. And you are becoming a thought leader by putting that education content out there. It's really this kind of soft way of advertisement, because you are educating your audience. But in doing that, you're educating them about your product, about your service, which in return brings them back as a business. So education and educational videos have become quite a popular tool in the marketing sphere, and a really good route to go down.
Yeah.
And that plays right into that tool. It's about giving something to your audience where they're actually gaining from it and not just being advertised to.
Yeah,
right?
and it's practical in its nature. And so for people who are considering this option, it's like, as I said, you look at your sphere and then you can say, who are my ideal clients and where is something I can develop, like an app or an algorithm or something, a piece of software that you can say, you can put it here as like a Trojan horse, but it's not meant to be that sinister. It's like that how you can find
dun, dun.
Yeah, right. But it was like this agency that did that. They scared a lot of the other tools that do a similar thing because it gave people free access to it. So then every one of their potential clients went there, and then it said, hey, you have to subscribe to use this, and they got all these leads, and so it's like the tool is now becoming this new form of marketing, and it came out of the blue. It's like someone gave it a go, and it's like, hey, that works. And then all these people started reaching out to tool developers and saying, here's something we're thinking, can you build this, makes an outlet? I mean, Mike, what do you think?
Even if you don't use that as an actual a product, so they've developed it and taken it a step further, whether they're actually going to monetize it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't go as far as that, from a website and online point of view, those kind of tools, if you think back to the days of SEO and link, building links and stuff, that's still very relevant.
Yeah.
Getting backlinks, good quality backlinks to your site is extremely useful in terms of ranking. A tool is going that next step. It's not just creating an amazing blog article that people want to read and go, oh, there's some interesting information. Thank you for educating me and sharing that with me. A tool is actually something that's very relevant and very powerful. And other sites going, hey, check out this site and check out this tool that's available now. It's easier to get backlinks to your site, which helps you from
That's what happened with
online.
them. That's what really happened.
I can imagine that would be huge for them.
And they just stumbled across it. They were like, hey, let's give this a go. And so I think this is a really big space. And for me, I addressed this with my team and we said we're not ready for this yet. But it is something that, you can go to developers. But I think the most powerful point in taking this one next level is the idea. Like you need to come, like if, for example, if you're a website builder, maybe a tool that helps you identify those 404 pages. I know some of them exist, but they're more like throwaway software. Whereas if you could develop one that you can plug into your website and say, hey, this is a free tool that you can use to scan your website and take it further and further. All of a sudden you're tapping into these people that go, I don't know if my website's any good. They put it in there. It tells them if their website's any good. And then it goes, hey, we can do it. We can fix these problems. Yeah. That's how a tool becomes powerful.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it that way, you're using it as this sort of pre-sales funnel kind of tool that helps them to self-diagnose and identify that, hang on, I got a problem. And I need to talk to someone about it. Who am I going to talk to? Well, the people who built the tool.
Yeah, it's right there. You're in our space.
Right
And I think it's underestimated by a lot of marketers.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's the next step on the free content piece because I think
direct-to-content tools.
The free content is still an essential part of your marketing piece, but people are wise to I'll click on your site. That free content looks really interesting. Can I download that? Yes, after you've entered all of your details.
Yeah.
People are quite wise to that, and I think particularly the younger generation are a lot more comfortable with entering their details, but people in particularly my space, possibly less so. Still getting.
What do you
their
mean
heads
by that?
around it.
MySpace.
I'm nearly in the.
He's showing how old he is about MySpace, right? Yeah.
But I actually found that that trend's now reversed with the younger generation.
Yeah.
I find there's
getting more.
but there's the older generation that don't want to give their details, then there's the middle generation that do, and then the newer younger generation are going, I don't want my privacy out there. Have you found that? I found that there's a new younger generation that go, I want to lock everything down. I don't want to give my details out. I don't know if you found that. I find that a lot.
I mean, we were starting to work with some partnerships with TikTok advertisements, and I definitely see quite the opposite.
Oh, do you? Okay, there you go.
In the sense
like
on TikTok, the younger generation, they're very much sharing so much of their life and their soul and their stories and themselves to a point that we never did.
Right.
Even
funny.
back in the day when we did just Facebook, we were like, eating a salad, it's yummy, right? They were still quite.
Please don't bring that time up.
And then now it's more, we use it as like, the political atmosphere, this, but they're actually being a lot more engaging with their personal feelings and stories and awareness. So I actually feel like they're engaging with each other on a whole nother level, and to the world.
I think that also that means that we have a certain level in terms of marketing. We've got a certain level of responsibility.
Yeah.
That as we sort of see a generation of consumers who are prepared to put up their information and stuff, then as marketers, we need to look at that and respect that and say that that's actually very beneficial in terms of the way we can work with them and work with that to provide great content or great products and services that can support them, so long as we don't abuse that trust that they've done in us. And that could easily turn in a couple of years' time where you get a bunch of marketers in there doing stuff
That's
that
what I
then
thought
just
was happening.
abuses that, and then all of a sudden they just shut off to it.
Yeah.
So, I think that's something that's, there's definitely that big responsibility as a trend in terms of us earning trust and then maintaining that trust by doing the right thing.
Yeah. So maybe if I go along the panel, Chris, final thoughts?
Yeah, look, I would say embrace new and look at new forms of marketing. Don't forget to keep your current ones going. Like I said at the start, is making sure that you're taking all these you're open to these new practices, but not saying let's do them all. It's like, okay, let's strategically pick what we can do, what's going to get the most impact, what's consistent with our branding, and finding a nice mix is the best way, I would suggest.
Ariel?
Yeah, I mean, that's right on the nose. I think you need to look at your audience and look at what you're trying to put out there and then decide which of these trends would actually further our marketing by utilizing it. And that's the one that you approach, because you don't want to be stuck either. You don't want to just stay in your comfortable little bubble and say, we've always done this, so this is what we're going to do. But you also don't want to just go wild on any trend possible. Yeah. It's about just constantly looking at where can I go to evolve my marketing and really reach my audience in the best way possible. And that's what you should head down.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you, as a business, we should all look at where we fit and where we are in terms of the type of business. Some of the latest trends and things that we're talking about here aren't suitable for, let's say it's a small business, micro business. Would I say that this is wise to invest a lot of time in things like TikTok and stuff? No, there's plenty of other channels and activities that are much more tried, tested, and work. So I wouldn't be delving into that. I mean, depending on the type of business as well. Whereas there are other businesses and brands that makes perfect sense to get into that straight away and being on the bleeding edge of those new trends that sort of come through. I think to Kristen's point earlier, look at the data. Yeah. Ultimately, in terms of the activities you want to do, test it, trial it, see how you go with it, see what the data says about engagement and what's happening and the type of customers you're interacting with. And then, because the data's out there. There's so much data, unlike years ago. It's everywhere in terms of every platform that you work on. There's information coming through around what's going on and how the engagement's happening there, because they all want you to be advertising with them or continue to do activities because you can see results out of it. So have a look at that information, dissect what's working for you, and continue with it, the ones that are working.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah, look, I would just reiterate what you guys have said. I think Chris made an important point. Don't be closed. Marketing evolves. It evolves naturally. Stay abreast of how it's evolving. But that's the important word that I think, emphasising what Ariel said, evolve with it. You don't have to be at the leading edge. You don't have to be at the precipice making the decision as to whether, if I do this, am I the next big thing? You can very comfortably come in behind in the vanguard and follow what others have done and be successful. Finally, do what's right for you is my take. So is that everybody? Look, thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our next podcast.